Potent Pondering, I'm back with another video. Yo, please come in, thumbs up this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, thumbs up the video, please. That's all I ask you to do. So listen, I wanted to come and talk about Donald Trump evoking the Equal Opportunity Act that dates back to 1965. So listen, at this juncture, as of right now, this is only impacting, people in the federal government. But my concern is that this will trickle down into the private sector, non-government jobs. And I want to know how y'all feel about this. So listen, he said that today's the 22nd. I think it was posted on the White House website today. My only concern, now listen, I understand it. I truly believe that a person applying for a job, they should be able to get that role based off of their merit, their skills. I get that. But what happens, because I feel a couple of ways about this. I don't think that a person should be hired for a role based on their identity. But I do think, like, what happens when we get to this point of when they starting to, white out all of these, in the federal government or white out in private sectors. It's bad enough that most of us, especially if you are black and you work at, corporate and you work in the corporate America, even me, I promise you, and it's almost sad if you think about it. How many of y'all, and I heard this years ago and it didn't click to me until so many different Black people even say this, like, I'll be your token Negro, or, they feel like they'll fill a role at a company because they know that they need to put Black people in certain positions or to hire them to meet quotas. And I feel like with things like the Equal Opportunity Act, especially right now on the government level, being revoked, what are these jobs really going to look like? I don't work for the federal government, so I don't know the ratio in regards to races as to who fills these roles. But I can tell you from the private sector working in corporate America, what I've seen and what I've seen firsthand, first and foremost, working in healthcare. I remember I used to work at this company in New York. I'm not even going to say the name of the company, but even when I started there at the baseline of even working in the customer service, it was told that it was a privilege to work there. And then you look around, it's only me and maybe two other Black people who work there. It was a privilege. Now, when you go to a lot of call centers and different places like that, it's a lot of Black people that work there. But at this one place, they were very strict on, and very particular in regards to hiring. I even remember that was the last job that I've ever even had, first and last job that I've ever had, that I worked at a temp agency. And even at the end of the 6-month term when they were hiring me and they knew that I can do the job, I never forget that this Caucasian lady asked me, she was like, I just want to make sure you can do the job, right? And I just didn't understand why her behavior was like that towards me. Mind you, the whole place is, listen, 95% white. And I think about now how she treated all of the people who worked there that were people of color, Black, mixed or whatever, right? And I thought about how it was a one girl who worked there, Kayla. Kayla was a white girl. And Kayla used to get put on all of the special, anything additional. She would get trained on extra things so where she could come in on the weekend and make extra money. She didn't offer those additional tasks or additional roles where she would fill in for different phone queues to make different money. And you know what that trickles down to? Your yearly review. So it's like you do more than everybody else, so you get a higher percentage. And I always remember around that time of the year, and I worked there for like almost 7 years because then I moved here to Houston. But I just remembered how my boss treated her, and she was white, and she treated Kayla completely different than everybody on the team. She got access to do different things that we weren't afforded the opportunity. So I feel like even with the Equal Opportunity Act as it pertains to the private sector jobs, I still feel like there is still racism, prejudice. Prejudice is definitely practiced across the board. And I feel like if this is evoked, this is on the federal government level, if this is evoked across the board in the private sector, people are really going to be showing their whiteness. Listen, I don't know no other way but to be blunt. So she did that. It's many other instances where I've seen somebody get hired who wasn't even qualified over another person in a different department, and pretty much the white girl pushed the Black girl out. It's a whole lot of things that goes on in these corporate jobs, like I'm telling you. So I feel like personally, while I feel like is that a person shouldn't be hired based on DEI or the race, sex, it should be based on their merit and their skills. I also feel like this is only going to lead to people being racist and, discriminating against others and flying under the radar. And then it's just like, how are you going to prove it? How are you going to prove it? You still have your civil rights, but how are you going to prove that they chose somebody white over you and you just weren't picked because you weren't black? I don't know. I just feel like it's going to open the floodgates for a lot. But anyway, nonetheless, I want to get into these videos that I found from TikTok where people explaining, how they feel about it. So listen, let's check this out. Let's go.
All right, folks, we got some big news in unequal sizes. Donald Trump has revoked the Equal Opportunity Executive Order signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson from 1965 that guarantees protection for diverse hires. Now, this is an act that was primarily aired to protect people from being discriminated against based on religion, sex, and gender, basically impacting anyone with a marginalized identity. Now, this affects federal workers and government contractors, so we'll have to wait to see how the impact of this decision will trickle down the lines. As we all know, job hunting has been incredibly difficult over these past few years, and it's only going to make things a bit worse.
The Trump camp officially revoked the act from 1965 that says equal employment opportunities for all. That's gone. Let's talk about it and exactly what it means. Officially known as Executive Order 11246, it is gone. It was initiated in 1965. It required employers to take specific measures to ensure equal employment opportunities. But why did the Trump administration revoke it? They are saying that these policies violate civil rights laws and employment should be based on merit and not specifically because of your race or that you're a woman or that you're a minority. So they say that DEI programs has an identity-based theme where it's really based on your identity versus your ability. They're saying ability should come first. Now, they're not going to issue it right away. They do give companies 90 days. So you got 90 days for the old law, but in 90 days, this executive order, which Trump signed today, goes into effect. Now, these changes do not eliminate discrimination based on your civil rights. What they're saying is it has to be based on merit. There's a lot more to this bill, and not every bill is affected. People like veterans in the Rehab Act are still protected, and civil rights are still in place. But what do you think about this new law? Is Trump taking it too far? Or is he justified?
Trump has revoked the Equal Employment Opportunity Act. So to all the conservative girls who were screaming, what rights, what rights? Congratulations. Here's your first example of your rights specifically being taken away. I'm re-editing this video because I want to be clear here that he revoked the Equal Opportunity Employment Executive Order, which materially impacts the act. Okay? I don't want to be inaccurate. I want people to understand what's really happening. I encourage you to look it up yourself. That's what's happening.
I opened Twitter.com. That was my first mistake. But then seeing that the Equal Employment Opportunity Act, that has been a statute since 1965, that has been a statute of my life, that has literally helped me so much in just all of the jobs that I've worked, that's been revoked now. Okay. Granted, I know I just posted a video 20 minutes ago talking about hope and community and all that. I still believe in all that, but are you kidding me?
Some breaking news here. Donald Trump has just revoked the Equal Opportunity Employment Executive Order signed by LBJ back in 1965. Now, this was a bedrock policy. This was highly impactful back in the 1960s. Women and men of color were trying hard to have careers in the government, and this helped them. From what I understand, from what I was reading up on the articles and everything, is that he's trying to basically going to start cutting DEI hires, employees, and whatnot out of the federal government. Now, a lot of people are upset about this, and a lot of people also need to understand why he's doing this. And I am not saying I agree with it. However, this is basically him trying to get rid of the stigma of, hey, because you're trans or you're black or you're gay or you're a woman, or you're colored, of any kind of an ethnicity, that you are a diversity hire, which in and of itself is insulting to people of different creeds, sexes, religions, backgrounds, races, to sit there and say, I'm hiring you because of this, because they want to use you like a mascot to bring other people in to, you know, following them, voting for them, supporting them, because they go, hey, look, I've got the trans person, the black person, the woman, the, you know, that kind of thing. That I disagree with that ever being okay, because that's just as bigoted as being against those people, because you're just using them as bait. This is still not the best thing, because he's going to start firing people who have probably been doing their jobs and they're just minding their own business. So I disagree with the fact that he is going to be rolling that back, because I feel like that's going to set a further precedent that it's okay, and that I'm worried that other businesses and companies are going to try to follow this. Not saying that they legally could, because this is, as far as I'm aware, it only affects the federal government. So I don't want to fearmonger here, but let me know what you guys think down below, because some of these executive orders and rollbacks he's doing are very, very, very jarring, to say the least.
So listen, so as I stated already, I don't think that a person should get a role. And honestly, let's really just think about this critically, right? Do you think that if I applied for a position and you applied and I was qualified to be a project manager and you applied, but you didn't have the experience or the expertise, and say that you are a trans woman or a trans man, and they look at your resume, they look at your experience, and, you know, they're like, okay, you're not qualified over me, so I would think that I am going to get the job over you. I would think in the you know, doing things the right way, that I would get the job over you. So I want to know, I would be selected. So I want to know, are people being selected for jobs that they're not qualified for? Am I missing something? Are they being hired for roles that they are not qualified for? I don't think that that's right, but I do believe that we need some sort of equal opportunity act enacted in all jobs, in all sectors, because I believe that is going to give people a free range to be more prejudiced, racist, and I really want to know what even sparked this on the back end to make this even come to be such an issue. And like I said, not all of the jobs, because I had some basic entry level jobs, but in like a role that I have now, you can't just put in the job application and be like, oh, I'm a trans woman, or I'm, you know, however you identify, or you're black. If you're not qualified to do the role, you're not going to get hired. Like, you understand what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just feel like this whole thing is insidious, and it's just going to cause more issues. It's going to be a snowball effect, and it's going to cause different issues for people down the road. And it's going to be like, how are you going to prove? You know, I'm pretty sure there's ways, especially if people are subpoenaed, employers for records and things like that. But it would be a long rabbit hole to go down. But how do you prove that, you know, you weren't hired? And the person, all they're going to say is that this person was more qualified than you, or maybe they did better in the interview. I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't know. I don't like the sounds of it. And I think that a lot of times when I do videos in regards to Donald Trump, like somebody put in my comments, they were like, you voted for Trump. Listen, if I voted for Trump, there's nothing that you can do about it. But I'm telling you, honestly, I did not vote for Trump. I have a family who traditionally votes Democratic, right? But the thing is that I think that messes a lot of people up, is that I understand, I agree with him on a lot of his policies, but I did not vote for Trump. But this I don't agree with, and I understand that a person should not be hired based on their identity politics. I don't think that, but I do think that it needs to be a checks and balances to make sure that certain people are being afforded opportunities. How many times, and I know it, people watching this video, how many spaces have you been in when you felt like the fortunate black person? Like, wow, I'm fortunate, like, you know, to be in this role and to be in this company, and it's very minimal. It's the amount of black people who work within the organization is very minimal. Why do we feel like that? Even when we do get hired for these jobs, a lot of the times they treat us like shit, and they make us feel like they want us to, you know, to quit and not last, or they start doing things against us. Trust me, there's a lot that goes on in these roles in these corporate America. It's a lot that goes on. Trust me, I've experienced it firsthand. This job where I work at now in Houston, you know, I've noticed the culture in Houston is just a little bit different from New York. upstate New York. In upstate New York, you really feel like the people's prejudices and the racism. I personally feel. In Houston, my experience has been a lot different. A lot different. I don't know why, but it's been a lot different versus upstate New York. But I'm pretty sure there's different, private sector jobs and, even government related jobs where people do feel, racism or prejudices from people across the board. But anyway, I don't want to make this video too long. Please get in the comments. Let me know what you think. Potent, pondering, never pandering. Let me know what you think about this Equal Opportunity Act being revoked on the federal level. So again, just to stress, it's not hit private sector, non-government jobs, but we don't know what's coming down the pipeline. And I think that this could definitely I feel like they're trying to white out America. And that's how I personally feel. They're saying that it violates civil rights, for Americans across the board. But to me, it has a different ring to it. And listen, we'll see. I don't agree with this, even though people think just because I agree with the immigration or, certain policies from Trump that I agree with everything. I don't agree with everything that anybody does. So listen, I really want your comments below. Potent, pondering, thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm up out of here. Peace.